Bless my soul! Cried the head of the fire department, going red in the face. It really is a little boy, isn't it? Don't be frightened of us, please, James called out. We're so glad to be here. What about those others beside you? Shouted the chief of police. Are any of them dangerous? Oh, of course they're not dangerous, James answered. They're the nicest creatures in the world. Allow me to introduce them to you one by one, and then I'm sure you will believe me. My friends, this is the centipede, and let me make it known, he is so sweet and gentle that, although he's overgrown, the Queen of Spain again and again has summoned him by phone to babysit and sing and knit and be a chaperone when nurse is off and all the royal children are alone. Small wonder, said a fireman, they're no longer on the throne. The earthworm, on the other hand, said James, beginning to expand, is great for digging up the land and making old soils newer. Moreover, you should understand he would be absolutely grand for digging subway tunnels and for making you a sewer. The earthworm blushed and beamed with pride. Miss Spider clapped and cheered and cried, Could any words be truer? And the grasshopper, ladies and gents, is a boon in millions and millions of ways. You've only to ask him to give you a tune, and he plays, and he plays, and he plays. As a toy for your children, he's perfectly sweet. There's nothing so good in the shops. You've only to tickle the soles of his feet, and he hops, and he hops, and he hops. He can't be very fierce, exclaimed the head of all the cops. And now, without excuse, I'd like to introduce this charming glowworm, lover of simplicity. She's easy to install on your ceiling or your wall, and although this smacks a bit of eccentricity, it's really rather clever, for thereafter you will never have the slightest need for using electricity. At which no less than 52 policemen cried, If this is true, that creature'll get some fabulous publicity. And here we have Miss Spider, with a mile of thread inside her, who has personally requested me to say that she's never met Miss Muffet on her charming little tuffet. If she had, she'd not have frightened her away. Should her looks sometimes alarm you, then I don't think it would harm you to repeat at least 100 times a day, I must never kill a spider, I must only help and guide her, and invite her in the nursery to play. The police all nodded slightly, and the fireman smiled politely, and about a dozen people cried, Hooray! And here's my darling ladybird, so beautiful, so kind, my greatest comfort since this trip began. She has 400 children, and she's left them all behind, but they're coming on the next peach of the can. The cops cried, She's a trancing! All the firemen started dancing, and the crowds all started cheering to a man. And now the silkworm, James went on, whose silk will bear comparison with all the greatest silks there are in Rome and Philadelphia. If you would search the whole world through, from Paraguay to Timbuktu, I don't think you would find one bit of silk that could compare with it. Even the shops in Singapore don't have the stuff, and what is more, the silkworm had, I'll have you know, the honour, not so long ago, to spin and weave and sew and press the Queen of England's wedding dress. And she's already made and sent a waistcoat for your president. Well, good for her, the cops cried out, and all at once a mighty shout went up around the Empire State. Let's get 'em down at once! Why wait? 5 minutes later, they were all safely down, and James was excitedly telling his story to a group of flabbergasted officials. And suddenly, everyone who had come over on the Peach was a hero. They were all escorted to the steps of City Hall, where the mayor of New York made a speech of welcome. And while he was doing this, 100 steeplejacks, armed with ropes and ladders and pulleys, swarmed up to the top of the Empire State Building and lifted the giant Peach off the spike and lowered it to the ground. Then the mayor shouted, We must now have a ticker-tape parade for our wonderful visitors. And so a procession was formed, and in the leading car, which was